Good morning, YouTube. My name is Amos. Today is June the 1st, 2017. We will be soon 22 days away from the 7th anniversary. Excuse me. Broccoli's plans for Lieutenant Prince Sama and what they're going to do. Now comes the question. Can Broccoli redeem themselves in many respects after the abomination that happened with 6th Stage? Because we are going to discuss in this video who should 6th Stage have benefited. And I'm probably going to make some people mad, but let's have it out. So, when we look at 6th Stage, in many respects, I outright called it a train wreck. I stand by that. I stand by that because when you look at the way Season 4 went, and you look at the way 6th Stage went, it was almost like one big giant encapsulation. Because one criticism that Starish fans have given is that we don't know anything about Broccoli. We don't know anything about Heavens. Well, they're not totally wrong. We know pieces, but we don't know everything. Now, of course, knowing Broccoli, we know why they're not playing their hand on giving the full Monty story about Heavens. We think. But Heavens is like this really weird case because when you look at them and you look at the way the UtaPri fandom looks at them, they look at them as antagonists or rivals. Well, more so rivals right now. I don't know about antagonists. It's hard for me, I mean, and this comes from somebody who loves Heavens. You should know this by now. It's hard for me, as a Heavens fan, to say they're rivals. Because for me, as someone growing up who enjoys certain other types of programming, or just enjoy sports in general, for there to be a rivalry, you need two sides that are seen as equals. You need two sides that the fans can root for one or the other. Or maybe they like both. And, you can do that. I know when I watch college sports, like college football, I don't have a preference, really, who wins or loses, but I'll watch the game and see who wins and enjoy it. I do the same thing with Canadian football, for anybody who asks. But when I watch, UtaPri, maybe when I was first watching Season 2, maybe then I looked at the rivals or the villains as Heavens. But that was then. What was funny was around that time, especially when we got closer to the end of Season 3, I started thinking more about Heavens. And I started to think, okay, are they really the villains that I probably thought they were? Or are they the villains that everybody else should think they are? The answer I've always come to is this. Here's why. So, when you look at the way Heavens' story is, in many respects also when you look at the way Starish's story is, although theirs is a lot different, and I'll explain that in a minute, from a writing perspective. It's hard to look at Heavens and Starish as rivals. If they are rivals, it's not against each other, it's against their own bosses. To explain this, you have to go no further than looking just at the way this season ended up, and also even seasons 1 and seasons 2 for Starish. Because consider this for me, okay? Just from a writing standpoint. The job of an antagonist is to put a roadblock in the way of the antagonist. Or excuse me, the protagonist. The protagonist has to figure out how to get around the antagonist's roadblock, right? Okay. If you really think about it, in season 1 and season 2, who was a bigger antagonist for Starish? Was it Heavens? Well, what did Heavens actually do? Not really anything. Here would have been the correct answer if you really thought about it, especially when you watched season 1. It was Shining. And if you really think about it, and you really paid attention, it was Ringo. You're probably trying to figure this one out. So let me help you. Go back and watch season 1. What does Ringo do to make him, in a respect, a part of the hero side? Nothing. He is more of a antagonist because, think about this. If somebody comes to you and tells you that there's a problem and you blow off the person, what does that make you? Now I'm going to get people in the comments, well, if you consider the way that school is, okay, I've heard that defense. And you're not wrong. You're not totally right, but you're not wrong either. Because also, when we get further into the season, what does Ringo do? Apparently he eavesdropped, because apparently I need to reread the episode descriptions. He apparently eavesdropped on Nanami trying to get the entire group to do one song, which would be Modular 1000. What does he do? He goes and gets Raging. Or, let me try this again. He gets Shining. And by the way, I'm leaving those in just for the hell of it. But he goes and gets Shining, and Shining tries to put a stop to it. Now, fast forward to season 2. What does Shining threaten to do? He threatens to break up the group if Cecil doesn't come back. Now, if we even go back into season 1, even when Starish gets formed, he tells them, okay, you're formed now, but I'm not going to give you your composer's Nanami. No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have this person, who we've never actually seen, and if Nanami can beat him, then she can be the composer. Otherwise, no, sorry. So now it gets even more muddied, right? But we know what happens. So when we get to season 2, what's the condition? You can only do the UtaPri Award if Cecil returns from Agnopolis and you can perform your song. Now he does, and they do, so they get to keep their spot. But then what does he do? Oh, and by the way, when Starish acts in defiance to Shining, I had to stop for a second, who is the one that actually acts shocked at the act of defiance? Again, it's Ringo. But we're not looking at that, are we? Because he, and I have to keep saying he because it is a dude, despite the way he dresses, he looks very surprised at the way Starish is defying him. Which, by the way, again, when we get to season 3, there's another issue which we need to go over. So then, when we get to the whole idea of the UtaPri Awards, when it's Starish versus Heavens, who makes the stipulation that the loser disbands? Who is it? Not Starish. Not Heavens. No, no, no. It's Shining and Raging. So now I need to ask the question at this point, when we really analyze the story. Who is the villain? Who is the antagonist? Who is the rival? You're still going to tell me it's Heavens because they wanted Nanami, right? Is it really all of Heavens? Or was it one person? Think about that one. The person who really wanted Nanami at this point was strictly Ichi. So Heavens is a unit, or villains? I don't think so. Especially once we get to season 4. But let's get there. Season 3. Can you tell me who the antagonist is? Well, you probably can't. Because for the most part, season 3 was a complete cluster. Because Shining appoints Quartet Knight to be his group, to go into Triple S. Starish originally congratulates them. That's what a protagonist does. They would congratulate somebody and they would go about their business. Now, eventually, what happens? They go, wait a second, this might be our only shot. So they go back to Shining and say, we would like to compete in the Triple S also. Shining isn't down with the cause. So he says, not happening. It wouldn't happen until they fulfilled conditions. The conditions would become the cross unit. This is getting interesting, because here's your connecting thread for 3 seasons. And I should go back, because who was the person that actually introduced Heavens in Ren's episode in Orange Rhapsody? That was Shining. And if you noticed, in that particular scene, when he did it, even though they weren't necessarily called Heavens yet, who was the person that was kind of sitting there looking dumbstruck? Yeah, it was Ryuga. Interesting, right? So when we get to season 3 and they do the cross unit, what is one of the connecting threads from season 2 and season 3? We've discussed this. It's the fact that you had 3 very interesting personalities in Ren, Cecil, 2 of my favorites, and Seo. Now, they had their conflict, and I think Ryuga kind of called him out on it. Shine didn't say anything, because he thought also that Shining was going to put them in to the Triple S anyways. Here's where it got really fun for me, though. As a person who was watching this and breaking this down like we're doing right now for 13 minutes, when we look at the way this was building up, you know you were going to get a confrontation at the end between Starish and Quartet Knight. But here's where it got really interesting for me, as someone who was watching the writing and also watching the fan reaction. It has been known that Ichi wants Haruka to be Heavens' composer. But he's one of the few people in Heavens that has been verbal about it. Remember that. He's really the only one of the 6 that has really said outright he wants her to be the composer. Because he says this in season 4, remember. But here was something else that I thought was interesting. Ichi got the blowback for that. But when the declaration was made by Courtenay, and this was actually confusing, that if they beat Starish, they would take Nanami from them. And I believe I had that quote right. Somebody will tell me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. So in this situation, and by the way, this comes after the following happens. Starish gets their song, Maju Love Revolutions, finished. They have it taken to Shining, and Shining basically says, I don't know if I want to put you in. He's forced to by the Quartet Knight, who then make the declaration that if they won, they would take Nanami. Now, if this was Heavens making that declaration, which remember they do in season 4, if this was Heavens making that declaration, you would have read about 5,000 posts on Tumblr, 5,000 posts on Facebook, Twitter, and so forth, that Heavens were scumbags. You pretty much would. But what happened? Well, this happened. It was absolutely nothing really happened, and we got to the cliffhanger, which we then would find out that technically Quartet Knight won the first election. They gave the win back though because of the fact that Heavens was disqualified. So they wanted to face Heavens as Starish yet again. Now let's keep everything in perspective at this point, especially when we get to the beginning of season 4. Up to this point, from season 2 to even into season 3, who were the antagonists? Who were the villains? You're gonna sit there and tell me, again, it was Heavens. But Heavens didn't do anything. They didn't do anything evil. They didn't do anything antagonistic. They didn't do anything that we could look at from a writing standpoint and go, they're villains. Even when the duet project happened, there was maybe 2 instances. If you want to argue 3 with Nagi with me, that's fine. But there were maybe 2 instances that I could think of where there was something that you could argue against Heavens. Justice Impulse, Next Door. Those are 2 episodes. Now, I haven't watched this episodes over again. I'm going to in the future. But those 2 episodes, out of the 7, are ones that I could say, yes, a Heavens member acted like an antagonist. But realistically, outside of that, none of them did. And even then, Yamada redeemed himself in the next episode when he had to stick up for Shion. Remember that? So even then, he used his anger and his rage for a good purpose. So even as an antagonist, he can still act like a protagonist. So it's closer to an anti-hero. Do you get the idea? And yes, I know it sounds like I'm breaking this down way too hard, but I need people to really look at this from the writing perspective. Because, keep this in mind for me, and I need people to now think about this. The person who really introduced the duet project wasn't Shining, it was Raging. Raging was the person that would oversee the project. He also specifically targeted 2 members of Starish. Tokia, in the first duet project episode, and then Otoy. Now, how did he do this? Well, the first one was a very direct one when he, much like he would do later to Ichi next door, he decided to get a little too close for comfort with that kid. And, yeah, we know what happened, right? Now, he just about mind-fucked him, too, when you really think about it. So, when you look there, you could say that Raging was the antagonist because of the fact of what he was doing. But also, I want you to think about something during the entire project. We only saw Raging, really. We didn't really see Shining that much. The last time we would only really see Shining closer towards the end of the season. I.e., around the time when Otoya went missing and he was kind of in his office in the dark. But we never actually really saw him realistically during the duration of the project. At least that I can remember. Don't you think if there was going to be issues with the project, that he would want to see it go 100% smoothly, especially if it was going to be involving a group from each one of the agencies? I would want that. But interestingly enough, it seems like Shine didn't care. Shine didn't care about what would happen to Tokia, even though that was one of his prized students in season 1. Then you look at, say, Otoya. Here's something that we've never got answered, and it was something that has continuously bugged me. People have said that Ichi abused Otoya. That like he kidnapped him and isolated him from Starish. Did he? Let's think about that. In the limo, he, being Ichi, specifically states that he got the permission from Shining to do the training camp. Remember that? So if he got the permission from Shining, then we have a problem. Because part of this then falls on his hands. It's amazing to me, though, how Shining doesn't really get brought into question with his sudden disappearance between the beginning of the project to the end, and also when you consider the fact that, oh yeah, there was the fact that he didn't show up until what was going to happen? Oh yeah, Raging was going to go down to the stage and basically pull Heavens because he was trying to get them disqualified from the concert. Remember? Shining put on his white hat and said, no, 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 no. Now here's my point with everything I just brought up in goddamn near 25 minutes. People have said, when we've looked at the way Heavens was presented apparently, people can say that Heavens are in fact rivals. Heavens were the... Because I read this all for season. Heavens are antagonists. I need you to go through this entire video, listen to everything I just said as far as the way the season was constructed, the story was told from season 1 to season 4, and you explain to me how Heavens acted in any way, shape, or form like an antag. If you can do it, congratulations. The problem is, I don't think you realistically can. Because here's the thing. I can back up every single situation with the fact and with the scenes and with literally screenshots. I can go through situations from next door to episode 11, and I can explain to you, here is why Ichi is not the villain. Here is why he's not at fault. Here's why the person you should have been screaming at is raging. But can you argue me off that point? Someone who literally watched the entire season, watched every duet project, watched all, what are we up to? What, 52 episodes? 53 if you count the OVA. And can you argue me off the point that Heavens was never an antagonist, and the people that you should be screaming at have been the following: Ringo, Shining, Raging. Those are the three people everybody should have been pissed at some point during the season, but somehow they escaped by, and Heavens got the brunt of it. This is what I need you to answer. Can you, in any way, shape, or form, can you explain to me how they aren't? How Heavens are the antagonists? How they are rivals? I need you to do this for me. And I also need you to explain to me how you can see Heavens as equals when they haven't really been given the chance to be put on that same level as Stars. They've been the redheaded stepchild so far of the franchise. But what do I know? I'm just somebody who's been breaking this down and analyzing this for nearly 30 minutes, and I'm somebody who's been observing the way the story of UtaPri from episode 1 to the final episode of season 4 has gone down. There's your homework, kids. Can you do it? Let's see if you can. Y'all take care. I will see you in the next video. And I promise you one thing, it won't be 30 minutes. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.